Good morning. So, 2 questions to ask when you think you failed because you've eaten some carbs and you've quote unquote spiked your blood glucose levels or spiked your insulin levels. And there's a trend that's been around for a long time where people say, you need to lose weight, you have to go lower carbs. And this is one way of doing it. We know that, like lowering your carbs, you're on a low carb diet. Let's say a lot of your diet originally came from carbohydrates, and you lower your carbohydrates, well, by default you're also lowering your calories. And here's some 2 questions to ask next time you see that, from diets out there, anti-spike. Look at your blood glucose levels, you need to keep them low. These are people without diabetes, which we know is not accurate for or actually useful for. So 2 questions to ask. Number 1 is that when you quote unquote spike your blood glucose levels, it is a normal response if you do not have diabetes. In fact, that's why we have a pancreas and the hormone insulin, so that we can bring that blood glucose level back down. And the only way you can store energy, aka store fat, is if you have excess calories. So if you spike your blood glucose levels but you're in a calorie deficit, it doesn't mean you're going to store excess energy and fat. That's the first question to ask in terms of, what does this actually mean? If my blood glucose level will come back down to normal in 2 hours, what does this actually mean? Ask the question, see if they can answer you. I remember doing my research in 2014 now, and I did oral glucose tolerance tests. And this is where you bring someone in fasted, you take their blood sugar level and their insulin sensitivity, and you give them a glucose drink, like pure glucose, pure sugar. Their blood sugar levels goes up, and then for every 15 minutes for the next 2 hours, you take their blood glucose levels, and over 2 hours, what you see in normal people is that their blood sugar levels just come back to normal. And the reason I'm sharing that is because it is a normal response. Number 2 is the insulin one. So sometimes we go into that stage of, but if I spike glucose, that means insulin's high, that's a storage hormone. But again, if you're in a calorie deficit, or you're not overeating calories and energy in general, you cannot store. In fact, you're more likely to store fat as fat than carbohydrates as fat. More on that another day. But remember also that insulin is released in response to eating. So when you look at that, and then when you look at the research on it, it actually lowers hunger. So that's why you see, say, whey protein and some other protein sources, they have an insulinogenic effect. AKA, they don't raise your blood sugar level, but they potentially stimulate insulin, which can have a great effect on your blood glucose levels, because insulin actually lowers your blood glucose levels. But it also acts on one of the mechanisms to keep you full up, which is that insulin is a anorexigenic, aka lowers your hunger, lowers your want to eat hormone. So 2 things to consider there. Next time you think, I failed, I'm going to store loads of fat, energy. Actually, the only thing that will is if you push the effort button and go, sod this, I'm just going to eat everything in sight now. So, food for thought for today: eat your protein, drink your water, eat lots of fruit and veg. You know what? As the research shows, wherever you go, low carb or low fat doesn't matter in terms of fat loss over time. It's the overall calories. So go with how you feel. One day, if you want to